Salam Media. The time is 9:43, and we'll be, shedding a light on a very, very important subject there as we're leading up to the elections. Almost 41 days left before South Africans go and cast their ballots. I hope you're registered. I hope you're going to be voting. But if there's one thing that's very, very concerning, particularly in the province of the KZN, is the issue of political violence and political killings. More than 19 town councillors have been assassinated in KwaZulu-Natal since the November 2021 local government elections. This is according to SA Local Government Association Salga chair, who has called for political tolerance before the national and provincial elections, which are coming up on the 29th of May. And joining us right now is our political analyst, Professor Bheki Mngomezulu, who also cautioned political leaders, especially in the KZN, to be mindful of their words and actions. Baba Mngomezulu, siyabonga kakhulu for joining us on Salam Media, and welcome.
Thank you very much, my brother, for having me. Good morning to your colleagues and good morning to your viewers.
First and foremost, the KZN, I want to touch on just how important the KZN is, leading up to the upcoming elections, and just why, you made that statement that political leaders need to be mindful of their words and actions. And we've seen, just how careless sometimes, especially in the KZN region, where leaders can use very, very inciting language, very violent rhetoric, in a province that we know that has been plagued by political violence for a very, very long time since post-apartheid South Africa. So let's touch a bit about the KZN and why is it such a hotspot leading up to the 2024 general elections.
Thank you very much for the question, my brother. And indeed, KZN is one of the provinces that you cannot overlook. If you do that, you do it at your own peril. Given the fact that if you look at the economic angle, for instance, it comes second after Gauteng. And then you look in terms of the registration population, it also comes second after Gauteng. So this means, therefore, that if you are serious about doing well in this election, you definitely have to take KwaZulu-Natal very seriously. And I think politicians have already started doing that. You saw with the three main rallies, one by the IFP, another one by the EFF, and another one by the ANC, all of them happening in KwaZulu-Natal. And interestingly, not just anywhere in KwaZulu-Natal, but in eThekwini, particularly because I think that opposition parties are smelling blood, especially given the results of the 2021 local government election, where the ANC almost lost eThekwini Metro, thanks to Mr. Philani Mavundla of the APC, who rescued the ANC. So basically, then there is general interest. But then the other reasons pertain to the ANC. KwaZulu-Natal is the biggest province of the ANC, even if position 2 keeps shifting between Mpumalanga province and the Eastern Cape, but KwaZulu-Natal has retained position 1 as the biggest province of the ANC. And eThekwini region has also been the biggest region of the ANC. So I think those are some, not all, but some of the factors that make KwaZulu-Natal such an important factor in this coming election.
I want to touch a bit on the political parties and their rhetoric, especially when it comes to the KZN. We see these rallies. Us here in Johannesburg, we see just how contrasting they can be, when they are in the KZN, the kind of language that the leaders use and the political parties use when they are in other parts of the country, and when they're in the KZN is almost chalk and cheese. When it comes to the KZN, the language is, as I mentioned before, a very violent one, a one that incites violence, a one that it's very unpalatable. I mean, we can even name political parties. The MK recently, one of their leaders, Mr. Reddy, there, who's going to court because of inciting violence. Why is that? Why do leaders find it so easy to use that kind of language in the KZN, especially knowing the kind of history that the province has and just how politically violent the province is?
My brother, that is regrettable. Under normal circumstances, you would expect politicians more especially political leaders, to be extra careful when it comes to KwaZulu-Natal. Given the history of the province and given what happened, especially on the eve of the first general election in 1994, there were a number of people who lost their lives, their families that are still trying to recover from that. So then ordinarily, you would expect that leaders would be extra careful when it comes to that. But unfortunately, there is this wrong belief that the moment, because KwaZulu-Natal is predominantly Zulu populated, there are other racial groups, of course, but it is racial groups and ethnic groups, but it is predominantly Zulu populated. So people work from the assumption that in the Zulu history and the Zulu culture, dealing with the issues of violence is not something new. And then they would cite a number of incidents where the Zulu people showed bravery, including the Battle of Isandlwana, the Battle of Blood River, or Impia Sengome, and many others. And then they would say that, in fact, Zulus are not scared. When it comes to fighting, they don't retreat, they just go forward. But those times are long gone. Right now, we operate in a different political dispensation. So that narrative needs to take a back seat and then do like everybody else is doing and push it, say, discussions instead of pushing in violence. So what these leaders are doing then is something that should not be encouraged, because at the end of the day, people who suffer are the masses, not the leaders. I always say that when the elephants fight, it is the grass that suffers, and that's exactly what is happening. When a leader makes a reckless statement, then a few hours later, you hear that somebody has been either hurt or has been killed, and these leaders have 24/7 security. So that is something that we should not encourage.
I mentioned when we began our interview that more than 19 town councillors have been assassinated in KwaZulu-Natal since the November 2021 local government elections. Why is violence so rife in the KZN, outside of maybe the comments that might be made by leaders, or by political party representatives, but looking at the broader South Africa, KZN always stands out when it comes to assassination of councillors or political party representatives. Do we have an understanding of why exactly is it that the KZN stands heads and shoulders above all the other provinces when it comes to political violence and political intolerance?
My brother will never come to a definite answer on that. Even the Morane Commission tried and failed. And in fact, I'm on record saying that the Morane Commission was never going to address that issue conclusively, particularly because people who are likely to be giving us the information are scared for their lives. Therefore, they would not come forward and say these are the reasons. It's a very complex situation. You have just mentioned a number of councillors that have since been killed since 2021, which is factually correct, as the Salga chair said. That is the leader of the chairperson of the IFP in KwaZulu-Natal, and was saying that a number of them have been killed. But then on the other side, you also have traditional leaders who have also been killed, be they Amakosi or be they Izinduna, they've also been killed. So which means therefore that these killings cannot necessarily be confined to politics. There are also squabbles that are happening in the traditional leadership sector, whereby people are killing one another for positions. And within the political frame, it works in two ways. One, there is what we call inter-party squabbles, where party A members kill party B members. But there is also intra-party squabbles, whereby people from within the same political party kill one another, mainly for positions. Then you still have to factor in the criminal element, which is everywhere in the country. So as much as the rest of the country is suffering from the third, then KwaZulu-Natal has a serious problem with the first two. So that partly explains this. But as I say, we cannot come with a conclusive answer because it's a more complex situation than it appears at face value.
And just lastly, before I let you go there, the KZN, feels like it's fertile ground for the taking. It feels like, at the end of the 29th of May general elections, anyone, could have captured, that province and made it their own. Looking at it and, analyzing the trends and just, the language and the atmosphere of the KZN, in your understanding, does it feel like the ANC is going to retain, or the MK is making headway in striding to make the KZN their stronghold?
Unless something drastic happens, my brother, I don't see the ANC retaining the province.
Ooh.
You can ask me after the election. I don't see the ANC retaining the province except through a coalition with one or two other political parties. And the reasons are clear. These internal squabbles in the ANC have not helped. And the emergence of MK has, in fact, left the ANC in disarray. As some of the leaders were reckless in responding to the situation, and in fact, they made things even easier for the MK party. The MK has not even launched its manifesto, but it is getting more airtime than all other new political parties. And the incident that happened at KwaZulu, which involved the chairperson of the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal, Siboniso Duma, and of course the traditional prime minister of the Zulu nation, Mr. Buthelezi, that did not help the ANC either. So it means, therefore, that the ANC is in trouble. And given the results from 2016, 2019, 2021, you can tell that the numbers are going down. Then the emergence of MK, of course, is just one other factor that is becoming a serious problem. Not forgetting, of course, that the IFP is on the upward trajectory. So which means, therefore, that days when the ANC was guaranteed that it was going to retain that province are now long gone. Before the emergence of MK, I had speculated that the IFP was in a better position to regain control of KwaZulu-Natal. But the emergence of MK has disrupted the plans of the IFP. They've also disrupted the ANC's plans, which therefore means that even though you still have DA, you still have EFF and many others that are trying, but these three are forces to be reckoned with. That is the MK, the IFP, and then of course the ANC will still want to do anything and everything to retain the province. But as I say, I don't see the ANC doing that alone, except through a coalition.
Putting your head on the block there, Professor Mngomezulu. I think we're going to leave it there. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to give you a call after the elections. To hold
Please
you
do
to
so.
that,
Please do so.
because it's a very, 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 very strong statement that you're making. But for now, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much, Wow, for giving us your time, and hope we catch up in the not so distant future.
Thank you very much, my brother, for having me. Thank you to your colleagues and thank you to your viewers.
There you have it there, political analyst Professor Bheki Mngomezulu, just giving us insight on the KZN and, why is it seemingly such a violent and political intolerant province. Out of all the 9 other provinces in the country, it always stands, heads and shoulders above the rest when it comes to the numbers of political killings and assassinations of leaders and party representatives. So it's going to be an interesting one. You're going to the elections on how that province is going to look like. We hope and we pray that, civil society comes in, police enforcement comes in to make sure that it's a peaceful process that's going to be happening in the KZN, and people can cast their ballots and vote for whoever they desire. And is also putting his head on the block there, saying he doesn't see the ANC retaining the KZN. So that's going to be interesting to see on how ANC in the KZN might take those news if they indeed don't retain the province of the KZN, which is a very, 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 very important province in South Africa. I mean, I was just reading yesterday that the economy of KZN is 5 times that of Zimbabwe. Eh? So hence the interest. So you can imagine, the contentious nature of the province and just how integral it is to South Africa. So we're going to leave it there. When we come back, we might chat a bit of football with the midweek Champions League games. And if you're a Ghana and you're a Man City fan, I'm sure you're reeling wherever you are. So we'll be unpacking those games and also dissecting a bit on the upcoming Europa League, where Liverpool are trailing 3-0 to Atalanta. More after this.